My name is Jenny Carter. I'm Sean Carter's mom. You see this walker right here? That's how Sean got in this room. I need to tell you about Sean, however, when he was in high school. Obviously, we're from Texas, and right now we live in College Station, Texas, but Sean grew up right on the border of Texas and Oklahoma in a little town outside of Sherman, Denison area. When Sean was in high school, he could have walked into this gym just like you did. He could have high-fived his friends. Later you'll understand why I think that's important. He tells me he never did that, but it's an important visual for you to have. He could have, and often did, hug his girlfriend, and he could have, and occasionally did, call me on the cell phone. When Sean was in high school, he was the kind of young man that liked to challenge his friends to see who could make the best grades. He was athletic. He modeled. You see that picture on the top right, that's one of his modeling pictures. He had an agent in Dallas and later one in New York City. When Sean was in high school, he also was in ag mechanics. Do y'all know what that is? Ag mechanics. So Sean built a 3-horse gooseneck slant trailer from the ground up, along with his identical twin brother and another guy. They took it to the big ag mechanics show in Houston and won a blue ribbon. One summer, Sean helped a friend's dad build pipe fences to make money. That was a lot of hard work. Anyway, Sean had a goal for his future. He was real goal-driven. He wanted to be an attorney, and he knew that was going to cost money. And the only way he knew to earn the money, because I couldn't afford to put my sons through school, was to pay his own way. So that's where the modeling came in. It wasn't because he thought he was a pretty boy, because he never did. He was a very humble young man. He was just a regular, all-around kind of guy. Sean actually went to New York City. He'll tell you a little bit about that experience, I guess, and he's going to share more with you, but Sean called me one day from New York City. He didn't live there long. He called me and he said, "Mom, I'm moving back to Texas. I need to finish my college career," you see, or college education. He wanted to go on and become an attorney. And he knew that was going to require school, and he thought, life is getting away from me, I'm coming back to Texas. So he came back to Texas. And that's when life changed. Sean was 22 years old, went out one night with a couple of buddies to have a few drinks. 22 years old. He knew he was going to get drunk. That was, I say, it was kind of a goal that night. I don't know if he really thought about it that way, but he also knew that he wasn't going to drive. But he didn't have the important discussion with the driver, "You're my designated driver, my life is in your hands." So on the way home from a couple of bars, and we think for every one of Sean's drinks, the driver probably had 2, the driver lost control of his truck, and when it spun and slammed into a tree, Sean's life changed forever. I'm going to share a video with you that was done by Texas Department of Transportation. It was for a campaign that they did called Faces of Drunk Driving. This video was done at year 6.5 after Sean's injury. It's been 14 years since this incident happened. And I want to tell you that for 14 years, Sean has been unable to speak. Yes, he does not talk. However, he's going to share his message with you. He'll do that via his iPad, but first I'm going to share this video with you. We're going to turn the lights off so you can see it, and then I'll introduce Sean to you.
My friends in high school used to call him Smiley. He always had a smile on his face, and in fact, one of my friends used to he would say the worst things he could think of just to see if he could make him frown, and he couldn't do it.
I always say that Sean studied hard, he worked hard, and he played harder.
And they were college kids, they were just out having fun, they didn't realize that this could happen. And yeah, I don't know.
It was the Saturday of Easter Sunday. Well, I heard the phone ringing. Finally, I got up and stumbled out to the living room. This man says, "Is this Jenny Carter?" And I said, "Yes," and right away there's a hitch. You know, your whole gut just clenches, because you know something's wrong. He said, "I need to let you talk to the emergency room physician." So the doctor got on the phone and he started listing off all of Sean's injuries. And Sean had a lot of injury. The driver stated to the police at the scene that he had had from 12 to 15 beer in an hour. The driver was not injured. My son was critically injured.
So, here I sit. I have not been able to talk or walk in 6.5 years. I use this computer to communicate. How could this happen to me? A prisoner of my own body.
What's real important for people to understand is that Sean has a brain injury. Everything related to his inability now is because of that brain injury. But he did not get hit in the head. Nothing touched his head. At the point of impact, Sean's head continued to move. And as his head went from side to side, his brain rubbed up against the inside of his skull. And it caused this injury called a severe diffuse axonal injury. It is the worst type of brain injury because it covers the whole brain.
I'd say that alcohol is probably involved in about half of our patients. Well, I think with Sean, at first he was very discouraged. That period of time when he knew he wasn't going to be exactly who he was before the accident, it took him a while to accept.
When Sean first came home from the hospital, he couldn't do anything. He'd just gotten out of diapers. He couldn't, I had to hand him a urinal. He couldn't feed himself. He could do nothing. And he wanted to die. He wanted to die.
I guess when my brain was still foggy, things didn't really matter. But once my mind started working again, and I realized all that I was unable to do, life became a living hell.
There was a time when he, right after the wreck, my mom had told me that he was in his wheelchair, and they lived in this apartment complex with a swimming pool. And he was, had gone out there to try to drive himself into the pool.
The most common question people ask is he going to be 100%? And the answer to that is no, because there are certain injury aspects that will never be repaired. But I tell parents that they still might be able to pursue 100% of their goals in life.
There's a bigger story here with Sean, honestly, and that's no matter how bad life is, you can make good things happen. And that's real important to us. We're getting out and he shares his message and the kids see that light shine from within him.
If I knew then that the decision I would make the night of March 27th, 2005 would affect the rest of my life, putting me here in this wheelchair unable to walk or talk, you can bet I would have not done what I did. Don't drink and drive, and please don't make my mistake of driving with someone who has been drinking.
If we know that we've saved one life, then all the effort that's been to get there is worth it.
Although I may not look like it, I have the same kind of thoughts that you might have. I dream of falling in love, getting married, and having children of my own. I dream of driving again. I dream of running along the beach, or riding a bike, or just getting up and walking from my bed to the couch in the living room.
You cannot allow yourself to lose hope. That at no point do you ever give up. You just can't do it.
So Sean's going to share his story with you now, and while he talks to you, I'm going to show you another video. It's me taking care of him. We'll keep the lights down when I show that video. I'm caring for him while he's deep in a coma at Baylor Institute of Rehabilitation, and I just have to say this. Sean had this special doctor that cared for him then, and she's here in your audience, and we love her, and it makes me cry to think that she's here today. Anyway, I'm changing Sean's diaper. The reason we share this video, I almost forgot. He hasn't worn diapers in a really long time. I have to remember to tell you that. But the reason I share this video with you is I want you to notice the bars that are drilled into his hips, the tube coming out of his stomach, out of his throat, the scars on his belly, on his chest, on his arms, the blank kind of look that he has as he gazes around the room without really knowing anything. He is in a coma. His eyes are open, but he really doesn't know what's going on. And I want you to think about that, and I want you to think to yourself, what would you do if it happened to you? So now let me start that video, and then Sean's going to share his message.
How you doing? Thanks for having me here. Thank you for sitting in that chair, willing to listen to my thoughts. I guess you can already tell that I am a little different. I walk out here with my walker. I can't talk, obviously. No one would choose to use this robotic synthesized voice to communicate with. I often want to say everything with the emotion I'm feeling, but this text-to-speech is so matter-of-fact. So you may get bored, or lulled to sleep by the monotony of my voice, but maybe you will be intrigued and decide to really hear the words that I have typed. Thank goodness that there is an app for that. I want to ask all of you to use your imaginations. Imagine me walking back and forth across the stage. Imagine me waving my arms and gesturing to make my point. Okay, I can already tell that some of you have better imaginations than others. I am called a public speaker. However, this iPad speaks what I type, so I suppose it would be more accurate to say I am a public typist. Everyone can see my inability to talk or walk like you do. And I am really honored that I was invited here to share my message. The events of that night could have been straight out of a screenplay. What happened to me is just unthinkable. But the unthinkable did happen. Society glamorizes alcohol so much. What is never shown is what is to people like me, or people worse off than me. Hi, my name is Sean Carter, and I suffered a traumatic brain injury, or TBI, in 2005, when I was 22 years old. I am now 36, and most everyone graduates from high school at 18, and college at around 22 or 23. So, you do the math. If you cannot do that by now, maybe you should think about paying more attention in class. You know how they say, time flies when you're having fun. Well, believe me, there were times when I thought it would never end. But time goes on no matter what, and here I am. I was attending college at a small university in Wichita Falls, Texas, juggling classes, work, and girls. Like the other guys I knew, a good time could only be had if we had a beer in our hand. Grown-ups often say, if I only knew then what I know now. Boy, is that statement ever true for me. If I knew then that the decision I would make the night of March 27, 2005 would affect the rest of my life, leaving me unable to walk or talk freely, you can bet I would have not done what I did. I was not doing anything wrong. So I thought. What I did is something too many people have done before me, and many more will continue to do. I almost hate to say this, but Mama does know best. Oops, don't want her head to grow. She always said, don't drink and drive, and don't drive with anyone who has been drinking. I love my mom to death, but I thought I was always right. Apparently not. I started drinking in high school. For some. I know that it starts even earlier. We would often go out and have pass-through parties, or go to someone's house when their parents were out. For some people, getting drunk is viewed as one of the most important things you can do while in college. Did it help me achieve my goals? Honestly, for the first few years after the crash, it made every single goal I had set for myself seem impossible. Would I have been so popular if I didn't drink? I don't know, but I would still be talking and walking. Which would you choose? Personally, I like the idea of talking and walking. That's just my opinion, though. I had begun modeling while in high school, and I decided to spend my 21st birthday in New York City, trying to break into the modeling industry so that I could pay my way through college. I had worked several modeling jobs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I had an agent in New York City who believed that I would one day make the big time. After living in New York City for 4 months, I decided that it was time to get back to Texas and finish college. I never aspired to be some big-time model who made a career of it. Modeling was just something I hoped would pay for college. I can remember nothing of what happened that night, but this is what I have been told. I had gone out to a couple of bars with 2 of my buddies. We were checking out the chicks and trying to have a good time. Since I was 22 at the time, I was doing nothing wrong. As long as we were paying. The bars continued the service. The mistake came when I made the decision to ride home with my friends, and I was not aware of how much we had been drinking. We were on the way home, not 5 minutes from my apartment, when the driver lost control of his truck, and it spun and slammed into a tree on the passenger side. That is where I was sitting. Luckily, the fire department was close, so the emergency personnel arrived on the scene quickly. They had to use the jaws of life to cut me out of the truck. Mom, will you tell them about the injuries I sustained?
Is there a way just to turn those lights on the audience up, maybe? Yeah, that helps. You can see me a little bit. So Sean was riding shotgun in a Dodge Ram signal cab pickup. It had a bench seat. He was seat belted in, and there was a guy in the middle of the driver. When the driver lost control of the truck, it spun and it slammed into the tree exactly where Sean was sitting. I think I'm making that reverb. Should I move some way?
Backwards.
Backwards? Okay, sorry. There, is that better? I'm sorry. Anyway, so when the truck spun and slammed into the tree, Sean's body couldn't move to the left and his entire right side shattered. This long bone right here, the femur, now has a long nail in it. It's called an intermedullary nail. At the end of his femur, there's a round ball that goes into his hip socket. That's shattered and has 4 screws in it. His pelvis, this bony structure that holds your body upright, was shattered, and that's why the bars were drilled into his hips. That sounds different. Anyway, you see I'm old. Things throw me off. Okay, so the bars were drilled into Sean's hips. That kept him stable so that he could heal. Also, there were 2 long rods that were inserted from side to side in his pelvis, and those are still in him, even though the external bars are gone. Because this part of his body fractured like it did, he had internal injuries. They weren't really sure what they were, so the doctors at Parkland Hospital in Dallas had to open him up. He has a big scar in his belly now. It was called an exploratory laparotomy. They looked inside of him and they found that his bladder was ruptured and his liver and spleen were both torn or lacerated. His right lung was collapsed at the scene of the crash. Both of his collarbones were broken. His right arm up here, the humerus, was broken. It has a plate and screws in it now. Now, everything that I've discussed to you, there's some girls up there that I think, they may think it's kind of funny, but I can tell you that if it happens to you, you won't be smiling and you won't be dancing. Now, when this happened to Sean, he could have died from that combination of injuries. However, everything that I've mentioned to you is healed. The one thing that Sean has been unable to overcome is this traumatic brain injury. You saw in the video how it happened, or what I said happened, nothing hit Sean's head. But the velocity of movement of his head when that truck stopped from side to side caused his brain to rub up against the inside of his skull. And it caused an all-over brain injury. The young neurosurgeon at Parkland Hospital that explained it to me told me that his job was to tell me the worst. My job was to hope for the best. The nurses in ICU at Parkland Hospital told me that I didn't need to try to find out anything else about severe diffuse axonal injury. However, you are unable to be by your loved one's side 24/7 when they're in ICU. And one day, when I was forced out of the room, I went and I did some research. Can you believe 14 years ago they actually had computers? So I went and found one and I looked and I read that 90% of people with a severe diffuse axonal injury never even emerge from coma. They're considered in a persistent vegetative state. The other 10% that do emerge are frequently so impaired cognitively, and your cognition is everything about you. It's your ability to know how to act appropriately in a crowd among your peers. It's your ability to understand instructions from your faculty, from your parents. It's even your memory on maybe the steps that it takes to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I think you can tell from Sean's interactions with me, and just from his expression and what he's written, that he has this cognition. His body does not do everything he wants it to do, but his mind is working very well. And I'll back off and let him finish.
While in ICU, my other lung also collapsed. So I had tubes in both sides of my chest. I was also transfused with 22 units of blood. I now have more than 35 scars and 18 pieces of metal in my body. All from one night of partying. You probably think like I did. That will never happen to me. But do you really want to take that chance? Drunk driving definitely does cause horror. Tragic deaths. It has also left some people, like me, wishing that we were dead at times. My mom used to have a job that required her to fly all over the country. After the crash, she quit, and for the first several years, she had to take care of me 24/7. I thank God every single day because she did that, the care for me. She told you about my injuries that placed me into this new life. I want to tell you what it has been like since then. I guess when my brain was still foggy, things didn't really matter. But once my mind started working again, and I realized all that I was unable to do, life became a living hell. Here I am, a prisoner of my own body. Maybe I am kind of used to it now, but at first I fought the devil with many thoughts of suicide. Trouble was, I couldn't figure out how. Not because I didn't want to, but because there was no physical way for me to do it. I thought about filling the bathtub up with water and dropping the toast tray. But what good would it do? I couldn't get myself into the tub. I couldn't carry the toaster into the bathroom, or to lug it in. For that matter, I couldn't even turn the water on. I couldn't figure out how this could happen to me. Why would God let it happen? I blamed him a lot at first. And then I finally came to grips that my use of alcohol was responsible, not God. Now, I know that he's in my corner, helping me with every breath I take. I know that it's dangerous to drink alcohol after sustaining a traumatic brain injury, because drinking having had a brain injury is likely to cause seizures. So it would not be safe for me to drink again. Besides that, look at what drinking did to me. I really don't think I need it in my life. I now realize I was not mature enough to handle alcohol when I was younger. So, back to here I said. Imagine when you lay in bed, unable to move, and having your heels feel like they're on fire, because they are pressing into your mattress and you are unable to move them. Where you get in bed is where you remain until you get up the next morning. Imagine being hot and not being able to get out from under the cover. Imagine being cold and being unable to pull the covers up over your body. That was how my nights were for many years after the injury. But at least now, I am able to roll on my side. Mom, I'm thirsty.
I'm waiting.
Don't you hate how your throat gets dry? And you cannot talk. That's meant to be a joke. If any of you did not notice, I cannot talk. As you can see, my hands are now cramped. For the first 3 years after the injury, I was unable to move anything on my right side. It's still not easy like before the injury, but I'm slowly getting the use of my body back. I began communicating by pointing at signs at about 75 days after the injury. Can you imagine what it would be like to go that long without being able to tell anyone anything? I grew up wanting to finish college with a degree in business administration and then planned on going on to law school to be an attorney. Mom and I now spend our time speaking around the country. Why God left me here is beyond me, but He did. So I'm going to cherish every last breath. I'm not paralyzed, so I at least have hope of one day regaining my movement. It's nice because I blame it on a brain injury whenever I say something inappropriate. However, I can never talk when I want to and or need to. Of course, it's difficult to think anyone has it worse than you. But the very thing that keeps me going is I know there are people far worse. There's always an excuse for whatever it is. It doesn't matter. You just have to make a decision, one way or another. It doesn't matter that I cannot walk. It doesn't matter that I cannot talk. Regardless, I will be the best that I can be. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. The doctors could not tell me that I won't walk or talk again. However, I feel that you have to believe to achieve. So it is how I live each day. I believe that I will. Everyone is so easygoing about the crime of drunk driving, and that's the thing. It is a crime. When will we start treating it like one? I always heard about the horrible statistics and devastating tragedies other people suffered, but it always happened to other people. Never sweet, old innocent me. I was invincible, right? There was a time when I actually thought that, was I ever wrong? Growing up, there were plenty of my friends who were trying to be cool. So of course, I wanted to be cool too. I wish I would have tried to live my life apart from others. But I grew up in a small town. I did what many people in small towns do. I drank, and with my friends we drank a lot, trying to be cool. Maybe you are like me, in the respect that if someone tells you that you cannot do something, you do it just to prove them wrong. I'm going to challenge you to do what is different. I challenge you to not drink until you are at least of legal age. Be the example of why it is good to live a life alcohol-free until you are of legal age. I wish someone besides Mom would have given me that challenge. If you choose to accept my challenge of waiting until you are of legal age to drink, you will see that drinking underage and irresponsibly is nothing but a waste of money and even time. I can tell you that there is not a day that goes by that I try to imagine what life would be like if I had made one different decision that night. But before I tell you anything else, I have to tell you again. I had a traumatic brain injury. I honestly have no clue what happened that night, or the activities that led up to my decisions that night. Knowing that, or not knowing that, does not change where I am today, and the hell that I live in now. Why did I not care enough about myself to make sure that my designated driver was a summer driver? Why did I not care enough about myself not to get so wasted that I was not aware of what was happening around me? Why did I not care enough about myself to know that there were hundreds of other things I could have done that Saturday night before Easter, besides drinking myself into this oblivion? Why did I not care enough about myself to spend time with people who were lifting me up instead of dragging me down? Why did I not care enough about myself to know that I would kill every dream that I had for my future? If I would have focused all of the energy I did on partying and drinking, I would have had law degree. I would have saved over $1 million in medical bills. And most importantly, I would still be talking and walking and living my life. Drinking may seem worth it for the one night of fun, but that's all it is. One night. Although I may not look like it, I have the same kind of thoughts that you might have. I dream of having a good job. I dream of falling in love, getting married, and having children of my own. I dream of driving again. I dream of running along a beach, or riding a bike, or just getting up and walking from my bed to the couch in the living room. This lady here with me is my #1 angel. I don't say this enough. Thank you, Mom, for everything you do. I love you beyond the moon and back. Don't drink and drive. And please don't make my mistake of riding with someone who has been drinking. And listen to Mama. She really does know best. After all, with age comes wisdom. So, she must be very wise, if you know what I mean. And I think you do. Please think of me. Please think of me before you get into a car with a friend who has been drinking. Think of me before you drive your car too fast. Think of me when you reach to change the radio station in your car while talking on the cell phone. Think of me and save yourself.
Thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you all. Now we can turn all the lights off. We always like to take a few minutes and see if there are any questions. I'm going to back up. We'll turn all the lights up so we can see everybody and y'all can see, okay. We like to open up the floor to any questions that you might have. You can ask us anything, and before you ask any questions, I would like to tell you, just so you'll know, that during the school year, usually, we are traveling around Texas. In Texas, we are funded by Texas Department of Transportation from a grant that was awarded to Texas A&M AgriLife. They paid for us to do 60 presentations in the state. Since we started speaking, we have been in front of more than 250,000 people from as far away as Long Island, New York. That same summer, we drove up to Washington State, to Seattle, and spoke. While in Seattle, well, that trip was funded by the Ford Motor Company Foundation. They paid for us to drive to Seattle, and Sean spoke for 2 minutes. But they thought what he had to say was important to their program. So, and since that time, they periodically donate to our nonprofit that we started called When Sean Speaks. Through that nonprofit, we are able to donate to camps for adult survivors of traumatic brain injury, which is why we're here this weekend. Sean's actually going to a camp at Make Promises Happen. We call it Camp Sunrise, but it's in here right outside of Guthrie. So, one other thing, we have business cards that we'd like to pass out afterwards if you want them. The business card has our contact information on them. It has both of our email addresses and cell phone numbers. Please don't try to call Sean, but if you would like to text him or email him, feel free to do so. We also have fan pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter called When Sean Speaks. And Sean, you want to say something?
Be sure you go like my fan page on Facebook. I want to get 10,000 followers, but need about 70 more. It's a different page than the When Sean Speaks page. The name of the page is Sean When Sean Speaks.
Sean When Sean Speaks. The business page is When Sean Speaks. Sean When Sean Speaks, and he's working so hard to get 10,000. Anyway, does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask? Anything? You want to say something, Sean?
You know, if you don't ask questions, you are going back to class.
Does anybody have a question? None of you all have a question. Know it all. Yes.
Does it hurt when he moves now?
Does it hurt when you move now?
No.
No. Yes.
Can you only move certain ways?
Can he only move certain ways? I'm going to answer a lot of these. I'm thinking he can move everything. It's just kind of stiff. And he doesn't have a sense of balance anymore. So he doesn't know where his body is in space. His brain doesn't know. And that's why, you may not realize this, but when you're standing, your body's continually making adjustments. And that's why you're able to stand upright. Sean's brain does not do that. So he has to use this walker for that reason. I keep thinking one day he's going to walk right out of it. It took him 10 years to get into it. And he's been walking in 4 years. So we're praying before 20, he's going to be able to walk right out of it. Are y'all curious about the driver or the other guy? Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay, the guy in the middle slid forward into the dash. His knees were a little bruised. He was taken to the hospital, treated, and released. The driver was stumbling around drunk outside the vehicle, and I need to tell you something about the driver. The driver was a really good football player in high school. He was so good that Baylor University drafted him and gave him, or not drafted, recruited him. and gave him a full 4-year ride scholarship, free ride, to play football, and he got kicked out of that program for drinking. He was given his second chance by the athletic director at Midwestern State University, which is in Wichita Falls, and he got kicked out of that program for drinking. He was stumbling around drunk outside of the vehicle when the crash scene investigator came and interviewed him, talked to him. He told him that he'd had from 12 to 15 drinks in an hour. He was extremely drunk. He was taken immediately to jail. Later, he was charged with and convicted of intoxication assault.
Not her.
What?
Not her.
He was not hurt. Sorry, I didn't understand. I can't always hear things well. I'm old, remember? Yeah, he wasn't hurt. He was not injured. But he was charged and convicted of intoxication assault, given a maximum sentence of 10 years, only it was a probated sentence. So all he had to do was not do what got him in trouble in the first place. But guess what? At about year 5, he was picked up 2 more times drinking and driving and was incarcerated in Huntsville, Texas, which is a maximum security prison. He is now a felon. He's been released, 10 years have passed, and since that time he's been in and out of drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers. He cannot get his life back on track. He chooses to do things that hurt him. He chooses to continue to drink, drive, do drugs. Great life, right? Not so much. I want you to think about that. You don't have questions, but I would like to tell you. There's a couple of things. What? Is there a question? Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Has he tried to contact Sean ever since then?
Has the driver tried to contact Sean since then? He actually came to see Sean one time, and at about year 7, we reached out to him and went to see him. No, they were not good. They weren't like friends from growing up. They were college friends, and his interests just weren't with Sean. He had other things going on in his life. Yeah. Yes. Oh, the middle guy is actually a middle school coach in North Texas, outside of Wichita Falls. He's doing well. Yes, there are a few questions. Okay, yes. Has he tried to do what? Has he tried to drink alcohol?
Or thought of?
Thought of drinking alcohol. No, and I'm answering these questions just because it's quicker. You know, alcohol put in here, that's the last thing he'd want to do. And also, he's mentioned it in his speech, alcohol can cause seizures. He's never had a seizure, thank heavens. He does not want one. Alcohol is the last thing he wants in his life. Now, I want you to listen to this. We are not telling you not to drink later. We're telling you don't waste your time right now in high school. You have other things to do. When you focus on drinking now, that's a habit you could take into your later life, and you will not be a productive, happy member of society. That's one thing. If you have friends that are encouraging you to go out with them, and you know they're going to be doing things that you don't want to do, maybe you got the message and you understood that you can be Sean. You don't need that person for your friend who is encouraging you to do something that you know you shouldn't do. And if you are wise as you get older and you're able to go out and have a drink or two, just remember to plan ahead. Keep yourself safe. And when you're on that highway, your job is to drive. Because you know what? They say after 10 o'clock at night, statistics are that maybe 85%, that sounds crazy, doesn't it? Of the people that are coming at you are probably impaired in some way, drugs or alcohol. Drugs or alcohol. And now there's texting. You need to be in control of yourself and your vehicle so you don't wind up with a car heading at you. Yes? Is the inability to speak from the brain injury. You know, it has to be. His vocal cords, although, well, they weren't really damaged. They're atrophied from lack of use. They've kind of shriveled some. But he tries to stimulate them all the time, and maybe one day they'll wake up just like the rest of his body has, and he'll be able to speak. That was a really good question. Anybody else? Yes, right here.
On the days when you get up and it's bad, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
On the days when you get up and things are bad, what's the first thing you think of when you get up to keep you going? And you're talking about emotionally, right? Emotionally. And he's going to answer that. Are you going to type for a few minutes? Like, should I? While he's working on that, does anybody else have a question that I can answer? Yes, right here? Yes. Did he play any sports? He did. He was football, basketball, or ran track. And he was a safety, I think. Was that right? I think that's what he played football. I wasn't real smart either, but wait a minute. Let me finish this and he'll tell us. Can I go on and ask another question? Yes?
I don't know if this is like considered rude or not, but is he able to make any noises?
Is he able to make any noises? He actually can. He, at night he does manage to say, "I love you, Mom." Aww. And he always says it, you know, when he's on his way. Sweet. On his way, on his trek into his bedroom, he always says that's the last thing he says is, "I love you, Mom." Yes?
Do you have an Instagram?
He does have an Instagram, Sean, when Sean speaks. Oh, you're ready. Okay, the answer of emotionally. What does he do to keep going?
I know my life will go on regardless. I want to have a happy life.
Yeah, and you know what he does? He gets up in the morning before he even gets out of bed, he does a Bible study. And faith has become very important to him. I know in public schools you're not supposed to talk about those kind of things, but you know, we're not in the school. We're here, but we're not in the school. Faith has been extremely important to both of us, because I want you to think about this. What would you do if you woke up one day and you could not move a thing, and for 2 years you had to have somebody feed you, and for 5 years, guys, you had to have your mom wipe your butt, and for another year after that, you had to have your mom help you shower because you just did not have the ability to do that? What would you do? You sit there in this seat and you think it'll never happen to me. Sean felt just like that. It would never happen to him, but here he is today. And that's why we travel around. We want to share this story, and hopefully there won't be another Sean Carter in that chair tomorrow. Hopefully you will realize that no matter how bad life gets, it gets better. No matter what storm you live through, it gets better if you just keep working hard to get there, to make it better.
Hell yeah.
So I want to thank all of you. You are welcome afterwards, if Mr. LeGrand will allow it. You're welcome to come up here and talk to Sean. You can take pictures with him if you'd like. Remember, you can text, email. Oh, you have a question? Okay, yes. Is he not able to go back to college? He actually could go back, and off and on he's thought about it, but he really likes public speaking, and his message, you know, he's got a lot of messages in his speech beyond just the alcohol part. There's just a part of how do you live when you have something like this happen to you. So he's decided, I think now, that public speaking is really great, and he likes meeting people. He likes traveling around and meeting people. So yeah. Yes?
What do you like to do on your free time?
Okay, I'm answering a lot of these because I know it is quicker than him typing it. What does he like to do in his free time? He would like to be able to just go and go to dinner with somebody, to invite a young lady to go to dinner with him or something. But what he does is, reality is he exercises a lot at home. We have a gym. We've converted our master bedroom into a gym, and he works out hard every day that he's home. He wants to improve. He emails, he texts, he has a Bible study, a men's Bible study that he hosts in our home every Tuesday night when we're home. He stays active. He's got good friends through the church that are young adults his age. In fact, he had a group of them over last Saturday night because it was somebody's birthday, and they all came over and had dinner and cake like anybody. He likes to do what everybody does. Yes.
Okay, so I noticed that he was like knocking on the table a couple of times. How else does he try to get your attention?
And you know what? If he doesn't have his, like if I'm in my bedroom, I shut my door. We both shut our doors at night and go to bed. He texts. And if I don't, after 10 o'clock, I don't get my texts, I don't get messages, he'll call because I have it set so that his call will come through.
Help me! Help me!